Welcome to my channel. If this exploration helped you see Scripture as a living challenge rather than distant history, we invite you to continue with my channel. Support thoughtful engagement with God's Word by liking this video. Like and subscribe for future reflections where Scripture, history, and moral courage meet. And consider sharing this with someone wrestling with questions of faith, authority, or meaning. My child, please listen. This message did not come to you by accident, not because you searched for it, but because your heart has been restless, even when you tried to silence it. I have been watching you quietly, not with anger, not with condemnation, but with concern. Because what I see is not what I expected from you. Before you defend yourself, before you explain, before you say you are tired, busy, overwhelmed, stop. I am not speaking about a single mistake, not about one bad decision, not about a moment when you fell. I am speaking about something deeper, a distance, a drifting, a forgetting, and that is what hurts. There was a time when you spoke to me freely, not perfectly, but honestly. You didn't need many words. You didn't try to impress me. You just came, you trusted me with your fears, your confusion, your unanswered questions. You leaned on me before you leaned on the world. I remember that version of you. Do you? Somewhere along the way, you learned how to survive without asking. You became stronger, more capable, more independent, and I was proud of you. But slowly, you stopped inviting me into the process. You came to me only when things broke, only when the weight became unbearable, only when the night felt too long. I became your last option instead of your first refuge. And that is not what I expected. When you felt abandoned, I was there. When you were exhausted, I carried you. When doors closed and you thought it was punishment, I was protecting you. You interpreted silence as absence, but I was still working. You interpreted delay as rejection, but I was preparing you. You did not see me, but I never stopped seeing you. Tell me, why do you trust the world faster than you trust me? Why do you believe voices that rush you, pressure you, compare you, but hesitate when I ask you to wait? Why do you run to people who cannot heal your soul, yet question my promises because they take time? I did not expect you to give your faith away so easily. I did not expect perfection from you. I expected relationship. I did not ask you to never fall. I asked you to return. I did not ask you to have all the answers. I asked you to trust me when you didn't. Your weakness does not disappoint me. Your silence toward me does. You smile. You function. You keep moving. But inside, you are tired in ways sleep cannot fix. You carry questions you don't voice, pain you don't name, fear you hide behind productivity. And instead of bringing it to me, you bury it. You distract yourself. You numb yourself. You tell yourself you'll deal with it later. My child, later has already cost you peace. I see the resentment you pretend isn't there. The disappointment you hide behind gratitude. The prayers you stopped praying because you were afraid of being let down again. You didn't stop believing in me overnight. You stopped expecting me. That quiet resignation, that is what grieves my heart. My silence was not punishment. It was invitation. An invitation to deeper trust, to mature faith, to a relationship not built on constant reassurance. But instead of leaning in, you leaned away. You filled the silence with noise, with opinions, with shortcuts. I waited, patiently, because love does not force itself. Listen carefully. I am not listing your failures to shame you. I am revealing the distance so it can be healed. I am not disappointed because you are broken. I am disappointed because you thought you had to carry your brokenness alone. That was never the plan. This is the question you must answer, not out loud, but honestly. Do you still want me, or only what I can fix? Do you still desire my presence, or only my intervention? Because relationship cannot survive on emergencies alone. Even now, as you listen, as your heart tightens, as memories surface, I am here. I have not withdrawn my love. I have not closed my arms. I have not replaced you. You are not too far, not too late, not beyond restoration. But something must change. This is not rejection. This is awakening. Not judgment, but invitation. In the next part, I will show you where the distance truly began, why you built walls without realizing it, and how to return without fear. I didn't expect this from you, but I am still choosing you. You think the distance happened suddenly? It didn't. It began quietly, subtly, almost politely. It began the first time you prayed sincerely and nothing changed the way you expected. You told yourself, it's okay, God has a plan. But something inside you shifted. Just a little. You remember that moment. You don't talk about it often, but it left a mark. You asked with faith, with hope, with trust, and the answer didn't come the way you imagined. So you waited and waited. And when silence stretched longer than comfort, you began to protect yourself. You lowered your expectations, not of life, but of me. You didn't tell me you were disappointed. You told yourself it was maturity. You called it realism. You said you were being wise. But wisdom that excludes trust slowly turns into control. And control is where faith quietly suffocates. Hope makes you vulnerable. Expectation risks pain. So you adapted. You stopped praying boldly. You stopped dreaming openly. You stopped asking for things you cared deeply about. You prayed safe prayers, careful prayers, controlled prayers, and you called it growth. But my child, that was fear learning how to speak politely. You still believe in me. You never denied my existence. You never walked away publicly. But belief without trust is distance wearing religious language. You recited truths without resting in them. You spoke faith without leaning your weight on it. You kept me in your life, but not at the center of it. Every disappointment you never processed became a brick. Every prayer you stopped praying became another layer. You told yourself, I'm just being realistic. But realism without hope is just resignation in disguise. And soon, you couldn't feel me the way you used to. Not because I left, but because you stopped reaching. When trust weakens, noise becomes attractive. Advice, opinions, strategies. Endless voices telling you what to do, how to fix, how to move faster. They promised certainty. I offered presence. They promised control. I offered process. So you listened to them more than to me. Not because they were right, but because they felt safer. I did not rush you. I did not interrupt your coping mechanisms. I did not force you to come back, because love does not drag. It waits. But you interpreted my patience as disinterest. You thought silence meant withdrawal. You forgot that I am closest when you stop trying to manage the outcome. I spoke through nudges, through discomfort, through moments of unease you couldn't explain, through restlessness, through longing, through that quiet sense that something was missing. You ignored it, not because you were rebellious, but because you were tired. You told yourself you had grown stronger, more independent, more resilient. But strength that refuses dependence is fear pretending to be maturity. You stopped leaning on me because leaning once hurt, and I understand that. But you never gave me the chance to heal that hurt with truth. You wanted me to remove pain. I wanted to deepen trust. You wanted immediate clarity. I wanted relationship. If I had intervened the way you demanded, you would have learned reliance on outcomes, not on me. So I waited, not to punish you, but to protect what faith could still become. You told yourself you were fine, that you had adjusted, that you didn't need the same closeness anymore. But then something triggered you, a song, a memory, a quiet moment late at night, and suddenly the longing returned. Because the heart never forgets where it first felt safe. You are productive, capable, functional, yet something feels thin. Because activity can fill time, but only presence fills the soul. And you slowly replaced intimacy with efficiency. I was never offended by your doubts. I was waiting for you to bring them to me. I can handle your disappointment, your anger, your confusion. What hurts is when you stop speaking to me entirely. The distance did not come from rebellion. It came from unhealed disappointment, from expectations you buried instead of surrendering, from prayers you stopped believing in because believing felt too risky. Listen carefully. Distance can be crossed. Walls can be dismantled. Trust can be rebuilt not overnight, but honestly, and it begins not with effort, but with truth. Now you see where it shifted, where trust bent, where fear took the wheel quietly. In the next part, I will speak to the lies you believed about me, the false conclusions you drew in silence, and how to learn trust again without pretending the past didn't hurt. I didn't expect this distance from you, but I never stopped waiting. Now that you see where the distance began, we must speak honestly about what followed. Because distance does not stay empty, it fills itself with assumptions, with conclusions, with quiet beliefs you never questioned because they felt logical at the time. These beliefs shaped how you saw me, and many of them were not true. You told yourself, I failed you, that I could have acted but chose not to, that I saw your pain but stayed distant. You never said it out loud. You just adjusted your expectations. But listen to me carefully. I did not abandon you in that moment. I was working in ways you could not see. Your pain was real. Your disappointment was valid. But your conclusion was incomplete. Pain reveals vulnerability, not truth. When you were hurting, you tried to make sense of what happened quickly. So you filled in the silence with meaning. And the meaning you chose was this: if God loved me the way I thought, this wouldn't have happened. That belief stayed with you longer than you realized. You began to feel like you were never enough, that I demanded more faith, more obedience, more strength than you could give. So you performed. You tried to be good, reliable, spiritual enough. You didn't come to me freely anymore. You came carefully, but I never asked you to impress me. I asked you to trust me. Without realizing it, you began to treat our relationship like a system. If I do this, God will do that. If I pray correctly, if I wait long enough, if I behave well enough, then maybe I'll deserve peace. But love does not operate on exchange, and grace cannot be earned. This one cut the deepest. You believed that I tolerated you but no longer delighted in you. That my love had become conditional, measured, fragile. So you pulled back emotionally. You didn't want to disappoint me further. But hear me clearly now. I am not disappointed in who you are. I am concerned about how far you drifted without realizing you could return. When life became uncomfortable, you assumed it was punishment. When things didn't work out, you assumed disapproval. But discipline is not rejection. Correction is not abandonment. I correct because I care. I guide because I am present. I never withdrew my love. You withdrew your trust. You told yourself you needed to clean up before coming back, to be stronger, more faithful, more stable. So you waited and waited. But waiting to be healed before coming to the healer only deepens the wound. I never asked you to fix yourself. I asked you to come. You were afraid I would remind you of your failures. Afraid I would say, I told you so. Afraid I would hold your past against you. So you stayed distant, hoping time would soften things. But love does not fade with time. It waits. Pain has a voice. It speaks loudly when trust is shaken. But pain is not a prophet. It does not see the whole picture. You listen to pain more than you listen to me. And pain told you stories about my character that were never true. I am not fragile with disappointment. I am not impatient with process. I am not transactional with love. I do not leave when things get hard. I do not withdraw when you struggle. I am closest when you are honest. Not strong, not impressive, honest. I could have shaken your life harder. I could have removed options. I could have made returning the only choice. But love that coerces is not love. I wanted your return to be chosen, not cornered. Listen to me now. You are not back at the beginning. You are returning with awareness, with humility, with scars that have taught you something. Nothing you went through was wasted. Even the distance has taught you what you truly need. Return is not dramatic. It is not emotional performance. It is honesty. It sounds like this: God, I stopped trusting you. I believed things about you that weren't true. I was hurt and I didn't bring it to you. That is enough. That is where healing begins. You may still feel uncertain, guarded, unsure how to trust again. That is okay. Trust does not return all at once. It rebuilds through presence. One conversation, One honest moment. One surrendered expectation. Not where you think you should be. Not where you were before. Here, with what you have, with what you feel, with what remains. Now the lies have names, and truth has space to breathe. In the next part, I will show you how trust is rebuilt, how closeness is restored without pressure, and how to walk forward without fear of disappointment from me or from yourself. I didn't expect you to carry these lies alone, but now you don't have to. Now listen carefully. Trust is not rebuilt by trying harder. It is rebuilt by coming closer. You do not recover trust by demanding certainty from yourself. You recover it by allowing presence again. I am not asking you to suddenly believe everything will work out. I am asking you to stop carrying everything alone. You do not need long prayers. You do not need perfect words. You need honesty. Come to me the way you are today, not the way you wish you were. Say what you actually feel, not what you think you should feel. If you are unsure, say so. If you are tired, admit it. If you are afraid to hope again, tell me. Truth opens the door where effort cannot. You learn to protect yourself by lowering expectations. I understand why you did that, but there is a difference between wisdom and withdrawal. Expectation does not mean demanding outcomes. It means allowing me to be involved again, to speak, to guide, to shape what comes next. You can hope without controlling the result. Waiting used to feel painful, so you rushed or distracted yourself or stopped asking. But waiting with me is not wasted time. It is where trust matures. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. It means staying connected while time unfolds. I am not late. I am intentional. Rest is not laziness. Rest is trust expressed physically. When you stop striving, you are not giving up. You are handing things back to me that you were never meant to carry. Rest does not mean the absence of responsibility. It means the absence of fear. I am not watching to see if you stay consistent. I am not waiting for you to earn closeness. Return does not require performance. It requires willingness. If you stumble, you come again. If you doubt, you speak again. Relationship is built through repetition, not perfection. You fear that if you trust again, you might be disappointed again. That fear makes sense. But disappointment does not come from trust. It comes from misunderstanding my role. I am not here to fulfill every desire exactly as imagined. I am here to walk with you through every outcome. I will not punish you for opening your heart again. Nothing dramatic needs to happen. No announcement, no transformation overnight. What changes is where you turn first, who you speak to before you try to solve everything, who you lean on when answers are unclear. You don't need to run back. You just need to stop running away. The peace you long for was never hidden from you. It was waiting where you stopped looking, not in certainty, not in control, but in closeness. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of trust. Let me say this clearly now. You are not a disappointment. You are a person who was hurt, adapted, and survived the best way you knew how. I never withdrew my affection. I was waiting for you to let me be close again. Even now, not because you fixed everything, not because you understood everything, but because love does not revoke itself. You are not forgotten, not overlooked, not replaced. You are not returning to who you used to be. You are returning to relationship with more awareness, more humility, and a deeper understanding of what you need. The past does not define your future. Presence does. No pressure, no demand, no threat, just an open door. Come back. Bring your questions. Bring your caution. Bring your fragile hope. I can work with all of it. You do not need to hide. You do not need to pretend. You do not need to be strong. You only need to be honest. I am not asking for everything today. I am asking for today. I didn't expect this distance from you, but I understand how it happened. And I am not standing on the other side of it with folded arms. I am standing here inviting you back into trust, back into presence, back into rest. Come back without fear. I am still here.